Welcome. It's Makeda Voletta, also known as the Body Scientist. I am here today doing a video on clinical exercise physiology and blood pressure and heart health. In case you are unfamiliar, I'm actually doing this Instagram live, but I'm also recording it on another camera just in case it doesn't save so I can post it on YouTube. But anyhow, for those of you who are not familiar with my background, I have an undergraduate degree in exercise and sports science and nutrition. So what that is, exercise and sports science are two different fields, right? And so what that is exercise science is dealing with, exercise is supposed to be safe and effective. Like exercise can be used as therapy. Exercise physiology is a study of exercise as it pertains to disease states, okay? So if somebody has hypertension or they have high cholesterol or they have had heart surgery or have cancer. Exercise physiology is a study of exercise as it pertains to different disease states and the physiology of it, right? Now, sports science is more geared towards training athletes. So people who are working out to, run faster, jump higher, and do those things. And so my degree is in both of those things, right? So I'm just as qualified to work with an athlete. Even my passion is working with athletes. So I'm just as qualified to work with an athlete, somebody who wants to increase their 40-yard dash, somebody who wants to increase their vertical jump, somebody who wants to come back from an ACL injury or prevent an ACL injury. I'm just as qualified to do that as I am to work with someone who might be a cancer patient or may have hypertension, because a regular, and this is the reason why I don't like calling myself a personal trainer, because the general world of personal training, their knowledge is very little. Like most personal trainers that you go work with in the gym or you see in the gym, they did like a little simple certification that really doesn't take that much knowledge. And the realm of what they're working in is like people who are like, I want my biceps to be bigger and I want flat abs, and it's all like this aesthetic thing. It's not really based on health or performance, right? So if somebody has hypertension, exercise can make them better, right? Exercise can bring down your blood pressure. So it's critical, like if you want to prevent having high blood pressure or you want to bring it down, exercise can really help with that. But at the same time, if someone has high blood pressure, exercise can also make it worse and make them pass out, so there's a fine line, it can hurt or it can help. If somebody had heart surgery or they have serious heart condition, the heart is a muscle, right? So if you have a heart problem, you need to work that muscle. But if you work it, you need to work it to make it stronger. But if you work it too hard, you could also kill yourself, so an exercise physiologist understands that. A regular personal trainer does not. So you can have someone who goes in the gym and, they're working with a regular personal trainer. They have underlying health issues, and that trainer can really mess you up. So this is the reason why I kind of keep myself separate from a lot of the fitness industry. There's not enough regulation, and there's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, and people are just looking at this look, and there's so many trainers that don't know what they're doing. So anyhow, so today we're going to talk about two things: the heart health and blood pressure and clinical exercise physiology, right? So turning off that sports science brain, right, and coming into the exercise science, and also my background is in nutrition as well. So when you're dealing with nutrition science, that also goes, it complements the exercise physiology, and so now you're going to see why. So, for example, let's just use this case study of someone who is diagnosed with hypertension, right? They have high blood pressure. Let's say they're in their 60s and are like, you have high blood pressure. Now, high blood pressure means that your heart is working really hard, to get blood to your body. And you don't want to stress your heart in that way. Yes, you could take hypertension medication, but there are a lot of side effects with that. And before somebody does that, I would always highly recommend that they try nutrition and exercise, right? Now, what studies have shown, a lot of people think that if you have high blood pressure, you need to cut down your sodium, cut down your salt. But a lot of studies have shown, and I remember seeing this in graduate school when I was at Columbia back in like 2004, that numerous studies have shown that people with hypertension, when they decrease sodium, it really doesn't do much for them. Instead of decreasing sodium, they need to increase potassium, okay? We have to have a balance of sodium and potassium in our body. It's an electrolyte balance. These are electrolytes. This is also when you're dehydrated, you need sodium and potassium and carbohydrates. If you're in a state of dehydration, consuming water will do nothing for you. It might make it worse, actually. So on a really hot day, when, there's a heat wave and they're telling people, keep drinking water, no. And when you're exercising, this is another thing, because I'm a sports nutritionist. I see so many times in the gym, people working out hard and drinking water. No. Your muscles and your brain use glucose as a source of fuel. So when you're exercising, you need sugar. You need fast-absorbing sugars to feed your brain and your muscles so you don't pass out and get dizzy. That's number one. And so you can keep going hard. Number two, when you're sweating a lot, it could be a hot day that you're doing work outside, or it could be just you're working out really hard and you're sweating, you lose electrolytes, you lose sodium, you lose potassium. Also, once your muscles are dehydrated, you need glucose to get that water back into your muscles. Water alone won't do it. You need glucose. And this is why bodybuilders go on these really low carbohydrate diets before they compete. They're chronically dehydrating themselves. So they're creating this look by chronically dehydrating themselves. Bodybuilding is incredibly unhealthy. To me, it's not a sport either, because they're not performing. They're just flexing and posing. If you're actually an athlete, you actually have to have energy to do something, right? I mean, I don't care what sport it is. You have to eat so you can perform. So for me, I don't consider bodybuilding a sport. I consider it posing, okay? And it's not healthy, right? So the bodybuilders manipulate nutrition so they can get this look. A lot of them don't look like that in the off season. They look incredibly shredded. What they're doing is chronically dehydrating themselves by manipulating nutrition and going on a very low carb diet. When you are dehydrated, you need carbohydrates, sodium, and potassium. So chronic, very low potassium is also associated with chronic dehydration. So a lot of high blood pressure is chronic dehydration, which means that that person could stand to start drinking watermelon juice, coconut water. All those things are very, very high in potassium. All fruits and vegetables have potassium, but coconut water and watermelon juice are like some of the highest. And also the ratio of sodium, potassium, and carbohydrates that are in coconut water and watermelon juice is really, really perfect. Or you can dilute orange juice, because orange juice has a lot of potassium, but it has a lot of sugar too. So you can dilute that a bit. And so also, hold on, I have to sneeze. Whew. It's that, and also deep breathing. Deep breathing can really help bring your blood pressure down, right? A lot of people do not know how to breathe correctly. And this is something that I had to learn as a dancer, because, it's one thing to play sports. I've always been an athlete. I grew up playing basketball, softball. I dabbled in soccer because my basketball coach made me. I fenced a little bit, played a little tennis, and I ran track, right? And I also have been a dancer all my life. Now, the difference between dancing and playing sports, unless you're figure skating or you're doing synchronized swimming, you're maybe gymnastics, maybe. You could say gymnastics, figure skating, synchronized swimming. In those sports, the look matters. You have to make it look easy and graceful. But when you're playing other sports, you can make ugly faces. You can wipe the sweat off your face. You can, but with dance, you have to always make it look effortless. No grunting, no faces showing the agony and pain that you're in, no getting sloppy with your movements. You have to be precise, right? So as a dancer, a lot of times when you're performing, and I had to learn this, I would be thinking so much about remembering the choreography that I would forget to breathe. And then you get on stage and you feel like you're about to pass out. But then you can't look bad, because dancing is all about the look, right? So you have to be like, oh my God, breathe. Oh my God, breathe. And that's what gets you through everything, is breathing. Any stressful situation, if you're in pain, even when women are in labor, the main thing is to keep breathing. And as a doula, that's what we always remind women, because like sometimes you could be in so much pain that you forget to breathe, or you could be so stressed that you forget to breathe. And when you are stressed, you get this fight or flight reaction where it's like short, shallow, rapid breathing, which can make you hyperventilate. And so you want to deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, right? Really slow. So, for example, and it depends on what you're doing, but for example, I'm going to do a really slow inhale and then exhale. And I'm going to raise my finger when I'm done inhaling. I'm going to put my hand down when I'm done exhaling, right? So I'm going to start inhaling now, okay, through my nose. That's how long I took to inhale, how long it took to exhale. So that's what I mean by really deep, slow breathing, conscious, right? So if you sit there and you start doing that and practicing that, that can also bring your blood pressure down. So at any moment, like you start feeling really stressed or pissed, deep breathing. Always in through your nose, because you get more oxygen into your body through your nose than you do when you inhale through your mouth. So you always want to inhale through your nose. You can exhale out of your nose or your mouth, right? Those two things are really, really helpful with bringing down your blood pressure, right? So I would always have somebody start with those two things first, right? Also, there are with exercising can help bring your blood pressure down. But if somebody has high blood pressure, what they do not want to do is lift heavy weights. Lifting heavy weights has many benefits. I lift heavy weights has many, many benefits. But the way that you have to breathe when you're lifting heavy weight, there's a certain way that you have to breathe so that you don't injure yourself, and it makes your blood pressure go up. So if you already have really high blood pressure, you do not want to lift heavy weights and breathe in that way where your blood pressure is going to go up. Instead, you want to do exercise where you can breathe consistently and constant deep breathing. I am not a big fan of yoga, but I do think that if somebody doesn't really know how to breathe correctly, which is a lot of people, then doing some type of slow yoga where you really focus on your breathing can help. Dancing is the same way, but a lot of times, for a lot of people, it's hard. Dance is hard enough, so it's hard for them to focus on learning new dance moves and breathing. Like their brain can't take it all. Like I can do that because I've been dancing since I was 5, but I know that for the average person, that can be a lot. So with yoga, it kind of like, if you're doing some type of slow yoga where you're just focusing on your breathing for a long time, then that can really help. Okay, so we got deep breathing, we got the potassium. The other thing that really can help with bringing down your blood pressure is omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats, which you can find in cod liver oil, a really good cod liver oil supplement. I wouldn't recommend just buying omega-3 fish oil, because if you don't buy a good brand, it actually can be very toxic and rancid. So I do not recommend going to CVS and being like, oh, I got some omega-3s. No, right? And I have videos where I talk about that, and when I work with my one-on-one clients and I evaluate them, I do give them advice on these things. I'm trying to remember the name. This Green Pastures makes a really good brand of fermented cod liver oil. Maybe Garden of Life as well makes a very good cod liver oil. So that also is very important. And then the saturated fats, your heart actually uses saturated fat as a fuel. People think that saturated fat is bad for your heart. That is totally not true. Your heart needs saturated fat. It uses it as a fuel. So that's also very important. The bad fats, there are bad fats, but it's not saturated fat. Now, I have YouTube videos called All About Fat that you can watch, and you can learn more in depth about the science behind fats, because a lot of stuff you're being told is not true. Saturated fat is very important. And if you look at, like, let's say the French, for example. The French cook with tons of butter, heavy cream, lard, duck fat. They don't have a problem with obesity, heart disease, cancer, diet, none of that, Meanwhile, Americans are like, oh my God, saturated fat is so bad, and they're consuming canola oil and soybean oil and corn oil and safflower oil, and we're getting fatter and sicker. And all of those things that is listed, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, canola oil, all that vegetable oil is extremely inflammatory to the heart. It causes lots of damage, and it causes cancer. It causes a bunch of problems. So those are the bad fats, not the saturated fat in your eggs, not the saturated fat in the beef. No. Now, when you're consuming meat and milk from grass-fed cows are only supposed to eat grass, or you're eating eggs from pastured chickens, they're very high in omega-3 fats, and they're very high in saturated fats. And the saturated fat and omega-3 even work together. Raw milk, which is something I talk about all the time. I have YouTube videos about that too. Raw milk is high in omega-3 fats because it's from grass-fed cows. It is high in potassium. It is high in magnesium, which is another thing that is shown to be very, very low in people with high blood pressure problems, right? Magnesium is also found in meat, okay? In meat. So people who follow me know I am not pro-vegan, okay? I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. I've done lots of research. I have a background in biotechnology. I have a background in nutrition science, exercise physiology, which is a lot of chemistry, a lot of biochemistry, organic chemistry, microbiology. I've spent lots of years reading research, not just citing something that I heard somebody say and I'm repeating it. I actually went and read the studies and analyzed them. And I have worked with clients since, I've been working with people since like 2002, okay? So all the years of experience of working with clients, the years of experience of actually studying science and doing research and using my critical thinking skills, and the fact that my graduate program that I was in at Columbia University was the only nutrition program in the entire country that does not take money from the food industry. A lot of people do not realize that. People talk about medical doctors, but all the medical programs in this country are funded by the drug companies. All of the nutrition programs in this country are funded by the food companies. And the food and the drug companies are the same people. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. People talk about the drug companies. They have no idea that the food companies are even worse. They're even more powerful. Even though a lot of times they're the same people, but they're even more powerful. They give more money to politicians, and so there's a lot of things that we're being told about food that is totally incorrect. Okay, totally incorrect. And so given that background and my own critical thinking skills and experience and looking at epidemiological research, meaning looking around the world, seeing who the healthiest, longest living people, what do they eat, there's no way that I came up with the conclusion that you should be a vegan, okay? Some of the most nutrient-dense foods are animal foods. Yes, you want to get them from local sources, local farms and stuff like that. But the same thing is true with the plant foods. Plant foods are even more messed up than the animal foods. They've been genetically modifying it and spraying it with chemicals and irradiating it and zapping it with radiation. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they do to fruits and vegetables. So I'm not with that vegan propaganda of, oh, what's so bad with the animals when the plants are even worse. And you can find good sources of both. So I'm not going to get into that right now because I have YouTube videos where I analyze this whole vegan thing. But I'm just saying, as a nutritionist, I look at the most nutrient-dense foods, the best food sources, and especially local ones, and ways to get your nutrition without taking a bunch of vitamins and supplements, okay? So the other thing that's really important for your heart and your blood pressure is coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 is an enzyme that is used by your heart. It helps with the flow of blood and stuff like that, and the use of oxygen. And coenzyme Q10, it's very high in the heart actually. So if you look around the world, like I love Peruvian food. When I go to Peruvian restaurants, they're always eating beef heart on a stick. A lot of cultures eat heart. The organ meats is where most of the nutrition is, not even the flesh, right? And all around the world, people eat organ meats. In Asia, in Africa, Native Americans, Europeans, they eat organ meats. Like heals like, so let's remember that. Like heals like. So eating heart is good for your heart. The highest source of coenzyme Q10 is actually in the heart. Now, or eating kidneys is good for your kidneys, or eating eyes is good for your eyes. All my friends, I have a bunch of friends from Jamaica and Haiti that grew up eating fish head soup, and they ate the eyeballs. All of them have perfect eyesight. And I remember learning in nutritional biochemistry that true vitamin A, is stored in the eyeballs. It's called retinol, like retina. Okay, I have a YouTube video about that as well. So indigenous people weren't stupid. People weren't just like Native Americans, Africans, Asians, Europeans, Polynesians were not sitting around eating organs because they were freaking dumb, okay? They knew what they were doing, and they were healthier than all of us are now. Now everything's an epidemic, okay? And so all around the world, you see the same thing. People ate sustainable local foods. You know, like if you live in New York or Chicago and you're eating mangoes and avocados all winter, that didn't come from your local environment. You know what I'm saying? What can you get from your local environment? That's where you want to get your foods, you know? Seasonal foods as well. And so, yes. So, I think I said what I wanted to say about, we went through the potassium, the coenzyme Q10, the omega-3s, the saturated fats, the deep breathing. All of that is really important for blood pressure. Exercise is critically important, you know, but the two things that I would say, if somebody is dealing with hypertension, is to first, you know, deal with this potassium issue, deal with this nutrition issue, and exercise, but not heavy lifting. Conscious breathing, like having a practice of deep breathing, like daily, if you have hypertension, right? And then, like, take your blood pressure. It's best to take your blood pressure, like, in the morning when you first wake up, because that's when you're, like, the least stressed and you're calm. Because when you go to, like, if you've been moving around all day and, like, you might have had stress going to a doctor's office, or you might be pissed about something, or you get to the office and you're nervous, all of that can make your blood pressure go up. And then you can have a higher than normal reading. So you want to, like, you monitor that. And if you try all these things and your blood pressure is still chronically high, and you feel like you want to take hypertension medication, then what I recommend is complementary nutrition. Which the reason why a lot of people get side effects when they take medicine is because different drugs pull different nutrients out of your system. And that's where the side effects come from. So depending on what type of drug you're taking, you want to take, you know, you want to have a nutrition plan that helps to make up for what the drug is pulling out of your system, so that it can help counteract the negative effects, okay? And probiotics is really important, because probiotics, the good bacteria, help to neutralize drugs and toxins and pull them out of your system. And I have YouTube videos about all of these things. So somebody asked me, when's the next time I'm in New York? I'm actually in New York right now until January 4th, but I'm probably going to head to DC for New Year's. I'm in New York every month. For those of you who know, I'm from New York. I moved to Chicago about a year ago. And I am back and forth between New York and Chicago, and I'm always free to work with clients. I also can work with people from a distance. So definitely follow me on YouTube, The Body Scientist 81, and you can email me, thebodyscientist81@gmail.com. So I hope this video was helpful, and have a great day, people. Bye.